did a meditation before this and feels calm-ish. You know what? That's about as good as it gets right now. It's like, how do we do the things that we know can help us get our nervous system just a little less hanked up here, you know, because we're used to usually quite a few breaks in the energy throughout our day. We're used to an awful lot of opportunity to relax and reset and connect with ourselves and connect with other people rather than the hamster wheel of our own thoughts. And when we are in situations where all we can experience is same, the nervous system gets a little not happy about that. The nervous system gets a little concerned that there may be reason to stress out. There may be reason to perceive danger. And the amygdala, whose job it is to sense danger in all things, needs us to use executive function, use the more developed part of the brain to remind the amygdala, we're safe. We're safe. Even when, especially when, everything in the news says, you're not safe, nobody's safe. I'm not even going to list off all the things that can be listed off because we all know that. All you have to do is turn on anything ever and you can hear all of that. And our brain is doing that all the time. So it's actually really interesting, the news cycle and what it is that we're exposed to in media right now, in large part, is basically representing what our brain does all the time, which is run all the scenarios and all the what ifs and get into a really worried state. So part of executive function's job is to say, even though there is a lot of information out there that can stress me out, I'm okay. I'm okay. Right now, at this moment, I'm okay. I can control the things that I can control. So we're gonna take a few minutes right up top to talk about that before we dive into our usual getting gear goodness, because this is your community. And it would be weird if we just went, let's just charge on into the curriculum and talk about how things are going with your 100-day journey. We're going to do that because that is the function, the purpose of this space and time. But I also want to make sure that we hold space for this being your community and having the opportunity to go, things is weird. What do we do when things is weird? Well, good news. As creatives, what we do is we create shit. As creatives, we role model for the less creative people all over the world what it is to live the life of an artist, not knowing where the next buck is going to come from, not knowing what is about to happen in our lives, never certain if a job will come back or be there or stay or show up, and still being okay. Because that's how we live our lives. We have very strong muscles for living in the uncertainty. That's what we do. So that we can be role models to those who are used to a great deal of certainty more than we're used to is a fantastic opportunity. We get to show others it is possible to have very uncertain conditions all around and still have an interior, an internal knowing all is well. Everything that I can control right now is fine. And releasing what is not in our control. Because that illusion of control is really what we've lost. We never had a whole lot of control. We never do. We can control ourselves, we can control our feelings, we can control our emotions, we can control our thoughts, we can control our beliefs, we can control our behavior. We cannot control anyone outside of ourselves. We cannot control the news. And here's something I mentioned in expansive capacity yesterday. So those of you who are members of both will hopefully appreciate the rerun of this particular part of the conversation. If you're like, yeah, I heard this part, I got it yesterday, cool, take a moment, go get some water and then come back. News media, social media, these are all subsets of show business. These are all parts of the entertainment industry. News is doing nothing more than any basic reality show that goes to commercial on a cliffhanger and uses lots of amped up music and editing to give you the feelings of, I have to stay tuned in because what if there's more after this commercial break that I need to know? They are getting ratings just like every other piece of entertainment that is put out there. News media is the most practiced at how to keep people hooked and viewing of all media that exists. And I say this as someone with 2 journalism degrees. I know what the fuck I'm talking about here, y'all. There is nothing going on in the news that needs your constant attention. If you are subscribed to Amber Alerts on your phone and have it so that it can interrupt you when things like that happen, when there are government alerts, when there are local emergencies, if you have that enabled on your phone, you have all the information you need. I make my news lap take about 10 minutes total per day because that is enough for me to get all the information that I need. I look at what the bullet points list is of all the new information. I adjust my decisions and choices and behaviors accordingly. And then I'm out. Because no good comes from training the weakest part of my brain, the most primal part of my brain, the scaredest part of my brain, and keeping that engaged and keeping that engaged and feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. There is nothing that serves me when I do that. What that does is it makes me less connected to my art. It makes me less creative in my problem solving. It makes me less likely to be of service to y'all. Even if you don't believe that you are in a leadership position, as a creative, you are a leader. So part of your work is to know when you've learned enough information about where we are in any given day and disengage from the fucking news. You have enough information. It's not helping you to keep eating it. Get enough to be able to do the next appropriate thing and then get going on that next appropriate thing. Focus on the things that you can control. I'm happy to listen to you if you need to speak about what's going on in the world, but keep in mind, we are not your therapy session. We are your getting gear for the next tier session. And while sharing our fears, our thoughts, our concerns, our feelings is fair game, please do respect that there are certain things that we just are not in our zone of genius to handle. Luckily, people are popping up all over the internet right now, serving up the things that they are equipped to handle. The zone of genius of all sorts of phenomenal people is becoming clearer and clearer right now.